Everyone, it's Jeff May. I am joined by artist and teacher Peter Santamaria. Peter, you did this wonderful piece here.
Guilty.
I dragged you on here to talk about it, and I want to talk about this because you've given me so many treats here, and I want to talk. I want to discuss this amazing piece that you have right here that you brought in. First and foremost, how did you get into this style of printmaking?
Well, this. Am I looking at you the whole time?
You can look wherever you want.
Wall?
You're allowed to do whatever you want.
I want to make sure every camera gets a little bit, so we can. Then you guys can splice it together later.
You can give it wherever you want. Super producer Sam saying, why don't you look right over here?
Got it. So this style of artwork is called printmaking. So that's like a big umbrella term, it's like saying drawing. So this specific type of printmaking, I carve sheets of linoleum. So this is like the raw material linoleum. Sometimes it's like a leathery surface or a rubbery surface. I draw the design right onto it. I carve it out. I use these really fancy tools.
Yeah, those look
super sharp.
Those are fascinating and terrifying at the same time.
Right, and then I carve an image out and I roll ink on that. You want to hold the roller now when I say roll? There you go. Roll, ink, roll ink. There you go. And then so I apply those materials on and I create like what's like a large stamp. And then I put the paper on. This is like a handmade paper that I import from Nepal. It's called Lakta. Yeah, you're doing a great job.
You know what? I feel like I'm doing a great job. Thank you.
Look at you. And so each stamp then it becomes a print. So each person who purchases a print gets a handmade original.
So you did that?
I made that.
So not like a printer, like a
no.
Well, I guess you're technically a printer.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a printer in a traditional sense. Yeah.
So what I have here right now, and this is really cool. I didn't know you were going to bring this.
Full of surprises. I'm like a crafty Santa Claus.
I like you have that Santa beard too.
Oh,
this is the actual carving.
It is.
That you run the ink over
Yes.
and then you press down.
Exactly.
And we take a look at that. I'm going to just kind of lean back a little bit. Look at the way the light hits that.
Isn't that something?
This is so cool.
It's like a dolphin skin.
It's kind of heavy. Is that how we...
That's how I make
dolphin skin?
That's the sad truth.
You are from
you guys
Miami,
endorsed.
huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Look at that, though. That is such a cool piece, and I look forward to not destroying it. So I'm going to put it down.
So everything is carved in reverse. And because when you make a print, it's a mirror image. So the only thing you have to think about when you're designing this way as opposed to a drawing is to think in reverse of what you want the final image to look like.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating,
So you work,
especially with lettering.
Right, especially with lettering.
You work with lettering here.
Yes, yeah. There's a Japanese text there.
What's that say?
So after all the approval, we've determined it says Spider-Man.
That would have been great if it was just something random.
It could have been. Google Translate. That's Google Translate's like nefarious ploy to destroy relations.
What's your artistic background? So how did you get? Where do you start versus how you end up here? Like
I've always like anybody, I've always drawn and I've always been into making stuff. If you end up this way, but printmaking was something that I actually got into as a teacher. Because I teach art as well. And I took courses in university. Some people who take art in university, you'll take printmaking as a course. But I didn't think of it as a way to get into this world. Because it has this, it's not very popular in mainstream production. So you tend to, when you're coming up, you start thinking about, well, let me see what everybody else is doing and how can I get into that. And as a teacher, you start working with different materials, and printmaking was like everybody's favorite for my students. They were like their favorite project to work on because there's so much process. You carve a little bit.
Seems very hands-on too.
Yeah, and you are the means of production, which is what led me to realize this is where I should be. Because before I was painting, I was doing some digital stuff, and then I always had to involve a third party, whether it was a printer, a photographer, to get my multiples for a show and to sell. But because I'm the means of production, like I said, I'm in control of the timetable. I can make as many or as little as I want. I don't need to rely on anybody else.
That's really rad. And so what I've noticed and something, because I follow you on the gram. He's a fun follow.
I follow you back. Listen.
That means so much.
I'm normally say I'm no follow back girl, but
and what I've noticed from their posts and from a lot of the art that you have posted and the stuff that we've done here, you're a big pop culture guy.
I love it.
And you like to incorporate a lot of pop culture into your pieces.
Love it.
Are there any franchises that you really like that are your favorite that you chase, that you want to do, that you what are your favorites? Yeah.
I mean, I have so many fans, but I always go back to Hellboy and Godzilla, Kaiju, Gamera, stuff like that. Hellboy is actually how I discovered Sideshow.
Really?
Yeah, because I went to Comic-Con in 2002, and I didn't know Sideshow. I didn't know much. I was 19, and the Sideshow booth even then was the single best booth at Comic-Con, which I don't think is even arguable up for debate. And the company had just announced all the Hellboy merchandise for the first film with Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, cool.
And it blew my mind, because before that, Hellboy wasn't very merchandised.
It was pretty minimal.
Yeah, and so I'm like, what? Like from 0 to 60, right? So I was just started working my first full-time gig, still living at home, and I'm like, oh, $800 on my paycheck, I'm rich. And I literally went on when they announced the merch, and I went nuts. I bought it. I pre-ordered everything. I had the hand, the gun, had it all.
You went nuts.
Yeah, that's how I'm like Sideshow. This is the mecca for getting cool stuff.
So thank God you got this when you're working
right
with
now,
us
I get a 10% discount.
Now you can just
exactly
grab some of this
Right.
stuff on the way out.
Right,
Hopefully
yeah,
nobody
right.
notices.
Yeah. I'm so small, I can't smuggle anything well.
You can figure it out.
Exactly.
I brought a backpack.
But the idea is that those are the licenses that keep calling back to me. Hellboy, I'd love to work at some point. Mignola's difficult to get his approval. I get like a weird like paternal vibe. I love him so much. He's the single biggest influence I've had as an artist, easily.
You chase him down when you go to cons?
I'm too scared to. I always try to have a reason to talk to him. You know what I'm saying? He gives me like a Larry David vibe.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Can we talk about this? You can cut it out later if you don't want to. But I love this guy so much.
Every time in an interview,
Yeah.
like when somebody goes, we can cut this out if you don't want, I'm like, this is going to get great.
Yeah, right? I'm just saying I love the art, but so many artists. I've had the fortune in the last couple years to meet so many of my influences.
Yes.
And they've all been very receptive, and I've been so grateful for that, because it's something where when I came to Comic-Con 2002, I met all these people who inspired me so greatly that one of my biggest goals was to come back at some point to show them that I'm worthy of being on the floor with them, hopefully, right? And it took me till this past Comic-Con to get into Comic-Con. And when I finally did, the first thing that I did was I went to find certain artists like Scott Morse. He's a Pixar artist. He's an amazing painter and illustrator. Eric Powell, who created The Goon.
Yeah.
Mike Mignola. And so many of these artists that inspire me, I want to say, dude, I've been like for the last 15, 16 years trying to figure out a way to kind of come back here. And I haven't wanted to come to Comic-Con since, without a reason to do it.
Yeah.
So one of the people I wanted to talk to was Mike Mignola, and he was very complimentary of the work, so that was awesome. But I'm like, I want to work, I want to do something with you, and he's just still like,
we'll get there. He's like everyone.
But I kind of
wants a
respect
piece
it
of me.
because it kind of protects the brand in a sense.
Yeah, I think so. But it's funny too because you were talking about
Yeah.
this idea of like you have heroes, you have people that you're sort of building up to, and one of the things, not to be like a shill or anything, but like the idea of fans creating is a lot of what Sideshow is about. So that we vibe
100%.
very well.
I mean,
on
I
that one.
always think it's weird when somebody claims or someone tries to project that they're not fans.
Yeah.
It's silly.
Really?
Like we're all here because we're a fan of something, and I've noticed that there are some artists that I've met that don't like to talk like that. Like I said, oh, I'm a big fan. Oh, so and so's here. I gotta go shake his hand. And then there's some people who will, kind of give me the vibe like that's not the professional thing to do. I'm sorry.
The too cool for school stuff.
I love saying hi to everybody, meeting everybody, shaking hands with everybody. I love it.
Friendly guy.
Yeah, why not?
For somebody who mostly works in knives.
Violent tools.
Yeah, I would say that it's this. Thank God you're so friendly.
Listen,
and
we're
nice.
complex.
I want to talk about this this piece because, what's the process for starting something? Like, how do you start it? Is what I'm really getting at. Like, what's the overlaying process?
So my goal when I'm designing a piece is I want to make something that I would hang up. That's always my goal. Mm-hmm. And I want to make something that if you could only buy one piece for your fandom, only one piece of art for your fandom, it would be substantial.
Yeah.
Right? So I always try to put the figure very large, very zoomed in, and then I think about, in printmaking, what are the pros of the medium? There's some things that don't communicate as well in this medium, but one of the things that communicate very well is patterning, contrast, big, bold areas of ink. So when I'm designing something like Spider-Man, I'm thinking, well, there's webbing, there's the texture of his suit, so I'm always trying to create, repetition in the patterns of the lines.
Yeah, this can't be easy to get these little.
Well, you have to plan it. You have to plan. You have to think the same way you're drawing, and you're saying this is going to be the area of shadow. I'm gonna, whatever's black is something I don't carve.
Okay.
Right? So whatever is light is what I do carve. And if I want to create a value of gray in between, right, I'll create a series of patterns. In this case, lines worked to create the gray, to create pattern, but also to, convey the texture of his suit.
And so it is funny because what you said just now, where you say your plan is to create what is essentially like a centerpiece, almost like
Always
a big
that,
piece.
yeah.
And you're right in that the contrast on this is very big. You have very dark on very light paper here, and that is this paper.
Same
the
paper,
as
Lacta.
this,
Yeah, so Lacta, it's a type of paper that I purchased from Nepal. So in Nepal, they make this paper by hand. It's like, I've seen video, it's like farms where instead of rows of crops, it's rows of screens like you would use to make a screen print.
Really?
Right, so they create a mixture and they spread it onto the screens, and then they combine, they just pull them off one at a time. And then you'll notice if you see a stack, they're not all perfect rectangles. They're not like really, some of them have weird indentations, or they have like, remnants of twigs or leaves or things like that. And to me, it's just more, it lends more to the fact that this is handmade and handcrafted,
I mean,
the whole process.
This paper, it seems almost like the perfection in it is the defects, almost. The kind of like the very handmade feel to it, which is super rad.
Yeah, I think the paper sometimes, helps so much when you get to see it in person, you get to touch it and really get a sense of it. It gives it a different feel and sensibility than almost any other print you could get.
It's not like computer paper where look like no piece is gonna ever be the same. Nope. It's all
some of them have weird little tears on it. I sometimes have to pull a branch off, a little twig, I should say.
I see there's little like, I mean, I don't know if you can tell here, but there's little like tiny little flecks and little pieces. There's a piece that you could just
sometimes
I'm not going to.
Go ahead, just tear it up.
You want me to tear it up?
No.
You kind of just rip the whole thing in half.
Out of control.
That's
it's got to be stopped.
I go nuts here.
It's like 7 5-hour energies so far today.
Yeah,
just see what's down here.
It's fun. Yeah, that's from Nepal too, which is crazy. And you're like, oh well, that's what you expect when they have a weird flag.
Right. So
2 triangles. What kind of flag is that?
It's well designed minimalism.
I'm going to jump now from the paper to another thing that we offer because we have the print. This thing sold out.
Sold out. We made 100 with Sideshow, and they sold out. Thank you very much, everybody who picked that up.
It was
so
like
awesome.
a day. It was
fast.
so fast.
So awesome.
And we also offer this one, which is we did some on wood.
Yeah, so Sideshow partnered with Prints on Wood to screen print this image onto a piece of wood. And that's the amazing thing about working with Sideshow is you get opportunities like that. I would love to have done something on my own, but I just don't have the time or to do both. And so working with a great company who has so many contacts and connections, that's amazing. I gotta get one for my house.
Have you ever? We'll wrap it up. We'll get it out of here. Have you ever done stuff on wood before?
I used to carve the images out of wood directly.
Really,
Yeah,
old school.
wood
That's
block
real
prints.
old
Yeah,
school.
and the cool thing about that is you have this nice piece that's carved in wood as a display in it to display in and of itself, but for storage can be a little trickier. And so
the linoleum will
the
roll
linoleum
up,
really
I'm
suits
assuming,
my lifestyle. I'm a teacher, and so linoleum you can kind of like pick it up and grab it, stick it in your car. It's actually more durable than it looks, and it's pliable, and I can stick it in a portfolio more easily.
It's linoleum.
Yeah,
It's the stuff for kitchen floors. It's
almost
be good.
exactly.
It's gotta be good. It's gotta be.
You should see my kitchen floors, by the way. They're beautiful.
You just carve them right
it's a
in. It's
nightmare
all
for
these
your feet.
Spider-Man.
No
everywhere.
barefoot days.
No, you wouldn't want to have that. Or if so, put some ink on there and then make something work. I am super stoked to be able to have you on. I was so glad to see that we were going to be having a conversation. Where can we find you on the internet, in the world? What's your address?
Everything.
Where can we go to your house?
You can always find me Attack Peter anywhere.
Okay, Attack Peter.
At Attack Peter on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. AttackPeter.com is coming up and running soon, but everything Attack Peter.
Okay.
Look me up there.
So you heard it, everybody. Yeah. Attack Peter. Do it.
The knives.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You don't want to do that. Thank you so much. It was
literal.
A blast having you on. I'm so glad that we finally got to hang out.
Thanks so much.
And the unframed and framed versions of that piece are unfortunately sold out. However, that wood print is still available, but won't be for long. So go get yours now. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget to let your geek side show. Hey, did you like that video? Be sure to subscribe by clicking the S icon on your screen and click that bell icon to be notified whenever a new video is posted. If you'd like more info on the items featured in this video, click the link provided under Product Info. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to let your geek side show.